What's up, parties and hardos? I'm not going to start this episode off with the epic failure that we both did last week by saying there was no number 51s out there. That was Spinny. That actually is literally the biggest L we've taken on this podcast,
Yeah,
honestly.
that definitely should be an honorable mention, Dubs and L segment for sure.
I mean, we're talking Ichiro and Randy Johnson. Two Hall of Famers, two of the best guys to ever step foot on the baseball diamond. And we just completely forgot about them. So
Yeah.
that was embarrassing. But episode 52, though, the Chad Greenway, shout out Minnesota Vikings legend, Chad Greenway episode.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vodka now, huh? Chad
Mr.
Greenway.
Vodka, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
But I think we're forgetting about the NBA stud. You know who I'm talking about? NBA
Greg.
legend.
The
Greg
Ohio
Oden.
State legend, though. The Ohio State
legend. Yeah, for sure. I don't know if he actually wore 52 at Ohio State, though, I guess. But he did in the NBA. One of the biggest busts of all time, Greg Oden. But we'll leave this as the Chad Greenway episode for 52. We got a lot to talk about here, Spinny.
Ray Lewis, too. Mr.
Ray Lewis.
You're probably the best football playing 52 around.
Right.
Gotta give you a shout out.
Too bad he's a murderer, though.
Allegedly.
Just kidding.
Allegedly. But before we talk about shit, should we play the shit that we need to play?
Absolutely. Wow, that's an amazing smoothie.
That looked terrible.
Sorry, folks. I had to chug that. That was amazing. Strawberry banana protein smoothie.
Mid.
Hey, get my protein in. Spinny, let's start this episode off with some headlines, though. Let's start with the women's national championship game, huh? LSU took down Iowa 102-85. I'm assuming you're about to say the most talked about game of the weekend because it was, which is crazy to say. Some quick stats, though, for you. Alexis Morris, point guard for LSU, 21-9. Incredible second half for her. Jasmine Carson, backup point guard, incredible first half for her, 22 points on 7 of 8 shooting. Angel Reese, obviously LSU's best player, finished with 15, 10, and 5. And then obviously Caitlin Clark, who a lot of people watched this game for, finished with 30 and 8. Spinny, I mean, where do you want? There's so many storylines with this game here, right? Where do you want to start?
I don't know where to start. I love it. I just start with loving it. Like it was legitimately more viewed than the men's game. It's been more viewed. If you go back to the 2021 NBA Finals, it was more viewed than any single game in the 2021 NBA Finals. So
have they dropped the viewership numbers yet for the men's game yesterday or not?
No, they haven't. Okay. I feel comfortable enough saying that I know it will be more based on what I know. So definitely more casual fans watching it too. Like I know my brother-in-law gave me a text and he's like, he's not this guy's not a sports fan, like 0% sports fan.
But he watched the game?
Oh yeah, his fiance is from Iowa and she's super she's pretty sporty, so she's been watching all the tournament games and she got him into it and he's like, is this how it feels when the Vikings lose every year? And I was like, yeah. He's like, is it normal to get sad for like multiple days after your favorite team loses? And I was like,
duh.
Yeah. I was like, you're gonna have a tough week, buddy. I told him, I'm like, that makes me smile more than anything because this guy is not into sports at all, but it was hilarious. Tons of stories like that.
9.9 million was the average viewership for this game. More than any women's college basketball game ever. More than any MLS game ever, Major League Soccer. More than any Stanley Cup game since 1973. That is ridiculous to think about. More than the Orange Bowl this year, the Sugar Bowl, 2 semifinals, more than any Thursday night football game, like you said about the NBA Finals already, more than the entire 2020 World Series, and more than all of the recent major sport leagues all-star games, which, whatever, we know it's an all-star game, but still, like, there's obviously way more people that follow the NBA, NFL, etc., than women's college basketball, and it exceeded all that. So just, it's crazy. I'm glad people are finally tuning in, and I'm glad it's being talked about.
Agreed. And just the awesomeness of like the villains, like it was everything you wanted. It was everything you wanted as a sports fan to get you interested. Like Angel Reese plays that villain role perfect. Like she's a dog and she is who she is. And it's
exactly
fun to watch, and it made everything more interesting. It made the Caitlin Clark storyline more interesting. It made LSU more interesting. Heck, even Kim Mulkey, as annoying as she is to me, was still interesting, and apparently can get away with shoving an official during a game and not getting teed up.
Ridiculous. I don't get that, man. I was very upset with that. Like I wasn't even rooting for either team.
Like, good for her. Like if you're not pushing the limits and they're not limiting you, then why not? Like, why not keep pushing the limits then? That's
for sure.
Trying to get a competitive advantage.
Plus every single possession on the court, like out of the coach's box, on the court,
way on
nothing was done about that. It just threw me off. And that's what to me is all tying to the bigger issue from this game. Everyone's making a big deal about this Angel Reese taunting, whatever. Did she go over the top? Sure. It's not that big of a deal. Let's just stop talking about it, please. Like, it's really not that big of a deal.
Like I said on Al's show this morning, the Bird and Tarasi feed, if you were watching that, they both were like, yeah, I mean, if you can't take it, then don't dish it out. You know, I mean, like, Caitlin Clark
took it.
Yeah, and she took it. And she literally said, heck, they beat us. They played better than us and they beat us. Like, that is mad respect to her and to everyone. But I think overreacting about heat of the moment sports stuff is not ideal, and it either has it has conscious or unconscious biases behind it, whether it's female versus male, whether it's black versus white, whatever it is. Like, if you're complaining about it and not complaining about Caitlin Clark, then there's an issue, you know. So if you're not complaining about Caitlin Clark, if you're not complaining about Tom Brady breaking tablets, about, you know, everything else that happens all the time, all the freaking out, all the classless bragging. I mean, it's like, it's
in sports.
Hockey players literally get in fights in the middle of the freaking game. Like, and there's
NHL teams that specifically sign players to fight. Yeah. They're notorious fighters. They want that edge, that mentality on their team, so they've signed them. I mean,
and how about the after of the AFC Championship? What is the first thing Travis Kelce said in the damn interview after the AFC Championship?
Yeah,
Bro had my ass. Like,
yeah, just stop talking smack to the mayor.
Literally. So it happens all the time.
Yeah, but like, my original point though, this is the Kim Mulkey stuff is all tying to the bigger issue in women's basketball, and that's officiating. This is the biggest stage. This is the national championship game. This is the most important game of the entire season, and that's the reffing that we get that from both sides. This is not just Iowa getting screwed over. LSU got screwed over a ton as well. Just the most atrocious reffing, honestly, that I've seen in a championship game. Like, I don't know if that's going too far, but I'm serious. Like, that was ridiculous to me.
Both sides. Angel Reese's second foul call was he literally didn't touch it at all. It was
so
unbelievable.
It's like, let's
Caitlin
get
Clark technical, which like when they showed the replay, I honestly I had to
that made me so
rewind the
mad, dude.
replay myself and watch it again because I was
That
like,
made me so mad. And
and
plus,
for her fourth foul, are we not observing time and situation as refs also, or what? Because
right
you're gonna give her fourth foul on that
in the third
BS?
quarter. Yeah. And looking back on it, the technical rule, it should have been a class B technical. They gave her a class A technical. The ball was stopped. At worst, she should have been given a dead ball delay of game technical because they already had a warning for it.
Yeah.
So that would have been the second one, which is a class B technical. But that does not count as a personal foul, a
Oh, it
class B technical.
yeah, I would have
No.
been okay with that too. Like that's
So they
fine.
ruled it a class A, but it should have been ruled as a class B if they were to call it.
They had the choice in that.
Yes.
So the refs screwed it up again. Even
Either
on top of calling it period, they could have called it and it would have been fine and not affected the game, but still
yeah.
limited the delay of game stuff. And
Yeah. So I don't know if they chose a class A technical over class B, or if they were just like right off the rip, this
Yeah.
is class A technical. But either way, the wrong choice
They
was
messed
made.
it up.
Just
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Wow.
I'm not gonna pretend that I watch women's basketball every game. I'm not gonna pretend, I'm at most a scoreboard watcher. I'll check the scores all season and whatnot and follow that way. But everything I've read from people that watch women's college basketball all the time, that has been the issue for 5+ years now is officiating in the women's game. And for it to still be like that after all this uprising of, players grabbing more attention, the viewership's finally increasing, things like that, for something like that to still hold this game back, you just hate to see it.
Yeah. And honestly, if you watched, at least I watched all the Elite Eight games and forward of the women's tournament. And I watched 70% of the men's tournament. So, and all the Elite Eight and on games. So the women's tournament was more entertaining. 100% straight up. I would have rather watched it. Better shot making, exceedingly better shot making. Just pure
Agree.
entertainment value, offensive running. San Diego State had multiple games with 12 points at the under 8 timeout. 12 points in 12 minutes, multiple.
Well, they went 10-minute stretch in the first half yesterday with 0 points.
It's oh my goodness. I don't know. Maybe I'm too new school, but I do like more scoring in basketball. I'm not a 40 to 40 game guy myself, but
that's what everyone watches for,
Literally.
Yeah, the shot making was not very good on the men's side.
But it showed, the rating showed that,
Yeah, absolutely. And this has kind of been the trend. Even last year, the ratings for the women's were right there, neck and neck with the men's. That's why everyone's been heated of the women's not getting the same Final Four treatment, like the teams that make it and whatnot, because they have the same amount of views, if
and
not
now
more.
they're about to have more viewership. That's going to
exactly.
be, yeah.
So jumping to the men's game, UConn obviously handled SDSU, no real issue. They did make a comeback in the second half, cut to 4, I think, was closest they got. But even during that comeback, you never really thought UConn would lose it. They still seemed to have control. It was more of them just being sloppy and turning it over themselves rather than SDSU actually playing well, in my opinion. But 76-59, Spinny, in the championship game. Their closest game was a 13-point margin in the Final Four over Miami. Insane run. I can't think of a more dominant run than this off the top of my head.
It was an exceedingly dominant run. And it just seemed like in that game last night that every time SDSU was making a run and you felt like, okay, we might get a game here, UConn would hit a giant shot, usually a 3, and it was just man, you could just feel the SDSU guys or the SDSU fans, players just be like, it's every time, we're doing all this work, we're grinding, and then we get close and they just bang a couple trays, and then it's back to 10, and that's just how the game went.
Either that or they finally got a stop, and then the next possession they give up 3 extra chances because of old boards, and then they finally make the shot, and like that is so defeating to like actually defend well, but then not box out, and that's how you give up points is just by a simple old board that you could have stopped.
Sonogo was dominating down low. He was literally
All
taking
tournament.
guys 2-on-1 for San Diego State. It was nuts.
So yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to talk about this game. It was a pretty boring game. Like, not very good shot making on either side. Obviously, UConn better, but either way, I mean, UConn only shot like low 40s from the field, and SDSU shot low 30s. But they're blue blood now, right? I guess you got to consider them one after winning 5 titles in 24 years.
They've got more titles than Kansas in the last 25 years. They've got
more than anybody.
More than So like
that's the most titles out of any
three different head coaches. So
right.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's just
the
thing now.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like, and I don't know. Maybe now I have to throw in Nova too, because I know last year in the Final Four on this podcast we brought that up too, like if they should be considered one, and I said no, probably not. So I don't know. Maybe I need to expand my horizons a little bit, because there's some other blue teams.
Why are all these schools blue? Actually, though,
it's so weird.
I guess is Indiana the only non-blue blue blood? I feel like, but they're not even a blue blood anymore. They definitely were.
Like historically, it would obviously be your Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, and UCLA.
Blue,
and then
blue.
Since 2000, that's when you throw in Nova and UConn as well. So it's interesting, but 3 different head coaches, 5 championships in 24 years. Amazing run that UConn's on right now. That's for sure.
Thanks.
All right, let's jump to the NBA. We'll fly through these first couple, and then we're going to talk about some of the new CBA stuff on the new CBA with the NBA and the Players Association. So Andrew Wiggins set to return. I'm not sure if they have a date coming up, but it should be sometime this week. And they came out that it was due to a medical complication with his dad. So I just wanted to mention that and hope that everything's going all right with his dad, and just continue to pray for steady progress on that end.
For sure. Yeah, same. Hopefully, glad he's back.
2 different situations here. Both teams struggling as of late. Our Wolves lose the freaking. Oh man, we lost the Blazers. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm not even going to go through the box score and tell you the names of the players that were playing for the Blazers. But other than Shadon Sharp, a 6th pick in this draft, there's a bunch of no ones out there. It was absolutely pathetic for us to lose this game. We were fully healthy, had everyone playing, and our second best player, argument for still our best player. 3 times.
I just don't have any words.
I'm out of words too. I don't even want to talk about it anymore, but I just had to bring up the disappointment in the Wolves, and then Cat in particular. 3 times in a must-win game. Just can't happen. Hopefully they figure it out. 3 more games left.
My bragging rights wager with Forbrook looking like my only hope.
Yeah.
Wolves not making the playoffs. That would be my
right
at this point.
Yeah. That's not looking good for you anymore. The Mavs, I'm only bringing them up because I just want to get your opinion on this. What is the problem with the Mavs? I've seen a lot of people, especially SportsCenter analysts like Stephen A. and whatnot, as of these last couple of days, saying Luka's all to blame. I'm not really buying that. I'm definitely not buying Kyrie's to blame. I know the record standpoint would back that up, since they were above 500 in the playoffs before a trade deadline, now 5 games below 500 since they got him. So I get that. But, I mean, if you just watch the games, Kyrie's been absolutely incredible. So it's not his fault. I just think it's the lack of depth. They have no other players besides those 2.
First thing I will say, Luka and Kyrie plus minus the last 15 games. Luka's minus 22 and Kyrie's plus ridiculous. So there's obviously that going in, but it's been too much of a history with Kyrie Irving. First year in Boston, he's hurt. They go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Second year, he's playing and they lose in the second round. Worse. Brooklyn. First year, not playing, hurt, go to the second round, lose to the Bucks. Should probably have won KD's foot on the line. The year after that, they lose in the first round. Now Dallas was in the Western Conference Finals last year. This year they were a 4 seed when they acquired Kyrie Irving, and now they are a 13 seed and they are out of the playoffs. Or 11 seed,
Four seed, that's what it was?
Yeah, they were a 4 seed when they got him. So it's like, I understand Kyrie's been playing well and looking good, but like, how many times does this have to happen we're getting to Russ territory, are we not? I feel like that's where we are at this point. Like, the guy's good. He puts up good stats, but like, how many times do teams have to get worse when he gets there for us to finally believe it?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's where I'm at. Luka's obviously not been playing great as of late, and he's got to take some blame for that. But Kyrie's pattern has been there. And the third and most important reason they're losing is because they can't guard anyone. They don't have a good defender on their team. They traded their best defender away in the Kyrie trade. So it's
right.
They can't stop a nosebleed. And in the playoffs, you got to be able to stop somebody. Also, Kyrie had that dumb foul at the end of the game last night with 1.8 seconds left that pretty much lost. It was not the great play to win, lost them the game at that point. Obviously, the whole thing, he played well and didn't lose in the game, but defense, Kyrie, Luka, all equal parts in the reasons that they've been terrible.
That's my standpoint too, is because there's like Stephen A was like crucifying Luka on ESPN yesterday, and I was like, you don't need to go that far. Like, at the end of the day, it is still a team game. Yes, in the NBA, your stars win, so I get that argument, but still a team game. If you don't have the depth, the defense, like you're saying, the bigs down low to rebound, you don't have that, you're not going to win. It doesn't matter. It's just that simple, and especially if your best 2 players are ball dominant guards.
True.
That need the ball in their hands to be successful. So that's my stance on the Mavs. Let's finish off this headlines though with some of the details of this new CBA. First, there's some restrictions here that limit the richer teams like your Warriors and your Clippers ability to spend more on talent. So this mainly has to do with free agency, not retaining players. So there's still no issue with like how the Warriors did it, drafting Draymond, Clay, and stuff, and keeping them and paying them. That still hasn't changed. But there's a new second apron for the luxury tax. From what I understand, it is $17.5 million over the cap. If you're over that second apron is what they call it. There's a number of things that you cannot do anymore. Like such, you cannot use the taxpayer mid-level exception to sign free agents. There was only 4 this past summer that qualified. So going forward, these would have not happened had this been agreed to last year. And that's Gallinari to the Celtics, DiVincenzo to the Warriors, Joe Ingles to the Bucks, and John Wall to the Clippers. So under new agreements, those signings or those type of signings would not be allowed. They also, teams above this second apron can't sign players on the buyout market, which I found interesting. So they still haven't came out with the actual definition of buyout market, but we obviously all know it's guys that get traded at the deadline and get,
bought out.
Yeah, like there's no like actual definition yet, so they still have to come out with that. But that's a new development. And then trading here, they can't send out cash in the trades. They can't trade first round picks that are more than 6 years into the future, which you can only do 7 years anyway. So they only just cut out that 1 year for those teams. And they also can't make trades in which they back more salary than they send out. That right there is a huge point. These type of trades would have not happened had this been agreed to last year, 2 years ago. James Harden would have never been a Brooklyn Net. Kevin Durant would not be a Phoenix Sun. And there's countless other options, but those are like 2 like really big name ones that aren't going to happen anymore after this. So, Spinny, what do you think about the restrictions against these richer teams?
I mean, I get it. I get why they're doing it. I'm not necessarily in favor of the trading ones because I think NBA trading needs to be easier, not harder. But Other than that, I think the rest of them make sense.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Some minor ones, two-way players. You can now have 3 of them on your team. I think that's kind of neat. Get more young guys in the league. Give them more chances to make it. Restricted free agents. So teams now only have 24 hours to match rather than 48. Makes it a little quicker. I don't see any negatives there. Yeah. This one's big. 20% increase in salary was the limit for player extensions, but now it's 40%. Spinny, this might save your Jaylen Brown. It might, because now they can offer him what he wants. Now, is he going to stay there? We obviously don't know. He could still sign elsewhere, but they can actually offer him what they want now.
Boston's stupid idiots probably won't offer him, though, honestly, knowing them. But I'd give that man the max that I could give him on an extension. 100%.
He's so good. He's so freaking good. It's unreal.
Like, what does he have to do? Like 27 a game ain't enough to like prove it to you, or what?
Right. Plus all these playoff appearances, all these playoff
Yeah. How
runs.
many times does he have to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals as the second best player in the finals?
Yeah.
Like, how many times?
Exactly.
To do it. Like,
exactly.
Just sign the damn man.
Yeah, it's inevitable that I think he leaves and tries to be the guy somewhere else so that he gets that respect that he deserves. I mean, me and you have been on that train for quite some time, so
I know, and I hate it every time. It's the worst train of the day. It's the
yeah. Just another shout out about that.
Figure it out, Brad.
Yeah, figure it out, Brad Stevens. Come on, man. This 40% bump though, just like another guy that probably won't be able to be re-signed, even with this 40% bump, is DeJounte Murray. He's only getting paid $17.7 million. 40% bump gets him about 25, 26 mil. He's not going to accept that. So it's not likely that DeJounte Murray returns to the Hawks when he's due with a contract extension. So I just wanted to say that.
But if he makes an All-NBA team, that changes, right? Still?
Right.
Okay. So that
All-NBA team eligible for the Supermax.
Okay.
Yep. There's also one quick thing before I get into the real stuff I want your opinions on is cap smoothing. So the salary cap cannot increase by more than 10%. There wasn't a specific parameter like that. If it happens to increase by more than 10% in a given year, they just throw that excess onto the next year. So it should help keep a steady increase in salary cap going forward rather than a really heavy increase one year and a lower increase the next year. So that's kind of neat. But now the good stuff here. 65 game limit for all awards, including all NBA teams. In-season tournament. And this one is interesting. I had no idea this was a thing until I was reading today. Players can now own minority stakes in NBA and WNBA teams. They can also be sponsored by gambling or sports gambling and cannabis companies as well.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about any of that stuff?
Yeah, the players being allowed to do that makes sense. The 65 games, I think there's going to be this new weird thing where because like in the NBA, we talk about per game stats, right? More than like total stats. So, I think it's going to be this interesting thing, balancing your points per game with playing 65 games with the whole start the game, play 1 minute, get subbed out, sit the rest of the time. So, like, obviously that'll be zeros added to your points per game. So it's going to be weird seeing players, because players like Kawhi and stuff are going to be budgeting that where they just set them in for 1 minute and then take
at least at the end of the year, yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see how that, not on top of the game limit, but just how that gymnastics plays into like award winners and stuff, which we base at least somewhat off of per game stats.
And kind of piggybacking off that point, it in theory might start leading to, at least for the all NBA teams, now that they're positionless as well. I didn't mention that at first. It might lead to a lot more guys being super max eligible, because if it's positionless, you can get a lot more different guys in there. And if you're throwing the 65 game limit out, I mean, think about all these stars, like you were saying, like Kawhi. And I mean, there's a chance he should hit it since he's likely to play every game the rest of the way. But like Joel Embiid might not even hit 65 games this year. So like you're potentially going to see a lot more guys that probably shouldn't be Supermax eligible now going to be because they were like the only ones above 65 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's going to be.
that was one thing I did not consider. I was down for this game limit, but I did not consider that until this morning when I was reading up on it. And I was like, damn, that might cause some issues actually.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't hate it. I more hate the positionless all NBA teams. I just think that I get why they do it. I get the Jokic Embiid thing. And I also get the third team all NBA center being somebody random. But I have a fix for the second one. And for the first one, that's how it's been since the all NBA teams were created. In the 60s, Wilt and Russell. Like in the 80s, Magic, Isaiah, Jordan. Someone was getting second team all NBA. In the mid 2000s, you had Bron and KD and Kawhi. Somebody's getting screwed out of those three. Like it's happened multiple times with multiple players over time. And I love the positioned WNBA or the positioned all NBA teams because they give you a real snapshot into the best players at that position over the years. Like when you look back, you can look at a 5-year stretch and see the first team, second team guys and be like, oh yeah, those are the best 4 guards. This guy did this season. 2011 has Derrick Rose, first team all NBA. It's like, oh yeah, that was crazy Derrick Rose season. You know, there's multiple occurrences like that where I think the all NBA teams really tell a story of what the NBA has been. And I'm going to miss that. I also have a fix for the crappy thing that happens when a player gets on third team just because there isn't a guy at his position. And that is, and Simmons and Nick Wright both said this, but make the third team all NBA be positionless and the first and second be position based. So you're still keeping the history thing. Third team NBA has only been in existence since 1989. And you make that positionless to make sure the 5 best guys that don't make the first 2 teams get their all NBA team recognition.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I get your argument for the historical aspect of it, but at least positionless all NBA teams. Yeah, it's not going to give you possibly the best player at each position, but it's at least going to give you the top, like legitly the top 5 guys are first team. Legitly top 10 players are first and second team. You know what I mean? In that regard, it's still going to give you a snapshot of the best players from that season.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of arguments either way, but obviously because of this Jokic and Embiid thing, that's probably the main reason why they started to implement that.
True. One thing I did want to go back to from earlier, and that's just because this article was just released, Tyler Conaway, with Bleacher Report article interviewing Caitlin Clark about the Angel Reese thing. I just want to read you this quote really quick so we can stop defending someone who's not even offended. And that is this. Caitlin Clark, I don't think Angel should be criticized at all. No matter what way it goes, she should never be criticized for what she did. I compete, she competed. It was a super, super fun game, and I think that's what's going to bring more people to watch our
game. Mic drop.
All right. Just want to throw that in quick because that just came out here. So
if she doesn't care, neither should you.
Yep.
All right. I think we're done with headlines. Should we finally bring back in Dubs and L's?
Dubs and L's.
It's back. First time since episode 35. 17 episodes ago, Spinny. Yep. We've got to have something to choose from here, right? Why don't you give me something?
Well, not having Nikola Jokic in my top 10 on our NBA mid-season performances list was pretty bad. Even at the time, it was pretty bad, given he had that, 42 of 43 games where he had at least 20, 10, and 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
Double-doubles. And that was bad at the time, and now it obviously looks exceedingly bad when if he can pull off some assists these last 4 games, he's going to average a triple-double for the season as a center. So, yeah, not in the top 10. Definitely, a top 5 player in the league for sure at this moment.
Yeah, that was a little ballsy by you, but at least in that regard, it was at that time. So it's not like you weren't saying he's a top 10 player currently in the NBA.
True.
Just this season at that time, you said that. That also leads me to one of my L's from that same episode, episode 37. I had Luka's number one, and it's pretty clear he's not the number one player in the NBA this year. I I think we all know the bigs, your MVP candidates, Jokic and Embiid and Giannis, all having better seasons. And then I personally would even throw Tatum ahead of him as well, because his play is translating to winning. So yes, they have a better team, they have better depth, whatever. I get that argument, but still, his play is translating to winning, and Luka's not. So Luka's at best fifth right now, I would say. So that was an L for me.
Yeah. Couple of other random L's for me. I lost college football pick'em to you. That is a huge L because you suck at picking college
That
football.
was one of my dubs.
Really, really suck at it. Also, Trey Young, All-Star Game starter, didn't even make the flipping team, which is ridiculous, but also funny.
That is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. So, and of course, multiple bracket L's could be taken, but everyone took those this year. So that's how it is.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much the rest of my L's were the brackets. Like, I was zero faith whatsoever in K-State. I literally said they would lose in the first game, and they made it to the Elite Eight. Huge L. I had Duke and Kansas winning their regions, losing the second round. Huge L. I don't think I even, at least what I said on this podcast, I might have changed in my actual bracket league. But what I said on this podcast, I don't have a single Final Four team, right? So just L's everywhere. But like you said, that was everyone this year. So that is what it is. My last L, though, is the big one I took. I already had to pay the punishment for it. I dumped water all over my dome ski. But my Raptors deadline prediction, that was a huge L. I was fully set on at least two of their four players getting traded. Van Vliet, Gary Trent, Siakam, or OG, and not a single one got traded. So yeah, that was a brutal L by me.
They actually even acquired somebody, Jakob Pertl, just to
they were buyers actually, yeah.
To miss the playoffs.
All right, so we jump then. That was L, so let's jump to dubs then. Spinny, you got to have something.
Yeah, biggest dub was just 3 out of the 4 final NFL teams predicted before the season picked the Chiefs to win the championship. I didn't have the Eagles in, but other than that, I had Niners, Bengals, Chiefs. Picked the Chiefs, said it the whole season, backed it up multiple times in this pod, how I believed in the Chiefs. Never was off the bandwagon this year and was completely right. The whole time, even though they traded their best receiver, and there was definitely some down moments of the season. So my loyalty to the Chiefs was my biggest dub of the NFL season.
I like that. I had a slight dub, I guess. It wasn't as big as that. I did pick Chiefs to win pre-playoffs. I didn't do it pre-season like you did, though. So that was incredible by you. My biggest NFL dub, though, was all but the Coach of the Year awards were accurately predicted by me, at least, postseason before they were announced. Not preseason, obviously. But the only one was Coach of the Year. Yeah, I picked Sirianni, and obviously Dabble won it, but I had MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, all those other awards correct. So that was my biggest NFL dub.
We like it. Other dubs for me, which is also one for you, includes predicting all the All-Star Game starters, the West starters, except for AD. Yep. So yeah, all the West All-Stars except for AD.
No,
sorry,
yeah,
on the starters. There we go. I can talk.
Exactly.
I can talk.
Yeah, you had. So I looked at it. I had AD instead of Markkanen. You had AD instead of Sabonis. So those are the slight switches we had there. But yeah, all the starters correct. Obviously, pre-injury placement starters. That's what we're referring to here. Like Curry and Zion, for example.
Yep.
So yeah, that was mine too. The only other one that I thought it's not a huge dub, but I thought it was a pretty good prediction. And that was there was 3 full weeks left of the NFL season, and I said the Seahawks would snag the 7th seed, which obviously pre NFL season, no one thought they'd make playoffs. Even at that point of the season, there was still doubt. So I thought that was an interesting dub I took, even though like.
And SDSU is my sleeper pick in our pre-March Madness episode. So I did have them as the sleeper in the South region, and they obviously won the South region. So that was
and then mine was UConn. I forgot about those sleeper dubs. So yeah, we did a good job there. Wow, boys made it all the way to the national championship game.
That was good.
Well, that was dubs and L's.
Dubs and L's.
It was quick, but that's what it is. We should be doing this segment again in probably a month or two. We got a lot of the mock draft and NBA award predictions and things like that that'll be coming out soon here. So we'll see how we did on that.
NBA playoffs as well.
Yeah,
a lot of some good ones for you. So
I'm torn on the NBA playoffs, man. Especially that Western Conference. Oof, that one's gonna give me a headache to think about. Well, we should jump to the last segment, and that is the Twins. A little Twins preview here. I want to shout out some moves here. We signed Joey Gallo. We traded
Joey. Joey's been balling.
That's been a freaking steal, huh?
Yeah.
We traded for some minor leaguers for Michael Taylor. Obviously, that was the help with Buxton being DH mainly.
Keeping that man healthy.
Right. That's obviously the ultimate goal there. We traded a minor leaguer for Kyle Farmer. That was a defensive utility upgrade there. I like that pickup. He just plays everywhere, so I like that. We traded Luis Arraez, obviously the big one, for Pablo Lopez. And then we also signed Carlos Correa and catcher Christian Vasquez. Which one of these offseason moves did you like the most?
Well, I mean, obviously the Lopez trade is the one I like the most, but right now, the Gallo trade's looking awesome. So, I mean, that's paid off in the end. Also, shout out to the boys, one of only 2 undefeated teams in the league right now. So us and the Rays, only 2 that are left, I believe. Did I miss one? Ooh, let's see if I capped. No, I didn't. Us and the Rays, only 2 undefeated teams. So it's been a great start for us. But best offseason move with Pablo Lopez. We needed a pitcher to be at the top, or at least have the potential to be at the top of our rotation.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree there. I mean, we tried telling Al. I know he was on the radio. He was so against that, but it's like, come on, man. Pitching wins in the MLB. That's pretty evident.
Arraez has obviously been playing well for the Marlins so far. So, like, they're probably loving it too because they have Sandy and other pitching possibilities. So far, it's been the rare win-win.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, obviously, his performance hasn't necessarily translated to wins for them as a team, but yet, at least. But yeah, he leads the MLB in hits, I believe. So
yeah, I mean, he's hitting 520 in the first 5 games, so over half his at bats have been hits.
520
in the first 5 games, yeah.
That is unreal.
Yeah, good start. So I hear we have some guest questions for our segment here, huh?
We do.
Ooh.
Let me pull them up here.
I've not even heard these yet, so
no, you haven't. These
are taking them off the cuff.
These for Spinny are at least off the cuff, 100%. Let's throw out this first one here by Brendan, and that is, why the hell is Emilio Pagan still on our team? Do you have an answer for that? Because I'm at a loss for words too, man. He is so bad.
Can we just cut him? Like, I'm sorry. I'll take just get him out of here. I don't want to see him on the mound. Like, at all.
After that season last year, it just amazed me that he still made the opening day roster. And it's like, what happens the first time you throw him in this year? Exactly the same from last season. Like, let's just, like you said, cut the man and move on. Please. Okay, now my dad sent me a whole bunch of them. As you know, a huge Twins fan, my dad. Who should bat leadoff? Obviously, Kepler's been batting leadoff. So are you good with that? I don't know. I'm not sold on Kepler yet. I hope he obviously bounces back. I'm rooting for him. But he literally didn't get hit till yesterday. Obviously, it was a home run. That's awesome. But he has one hit only. I mean, you can't lead off if you're not gonna like. Your leadoff hitter should be a contact hitter, on base a lot, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, is it the Buxton Correa? Is it one of those two that you
that's what
just
I'm saying. Like,
do it?
I'd rather just see one of those two up there.
Put Larnach at 3 and Miranda at 4 and just rock
Yes,
it like that?
that's what I would do personally. But
Gallo or Kep at 5 and then the other one at 6? I mean, you don't want to throw those two in a row. That's the thing. So your second baseman probably goes in there somewhere. One of those two at 5, the second baseman in between, and then the other one at 7. But
yeah, because once he's back healthy, we still have Polanco. So
true, yeah,
Polanco would be in there. Obviously, we're also missing Kirilloff right now. He would potentially be in that lineup somewhere. So yeah, some of our best players aren't even playing. We're still playing. Are still bats are going like this. So that's good to see to start the season.
Be interesting against Alcantara tonight to see how the bats do. But
how long? Another question here. How long? Another Kepler question, I should say. How long do we just simply go with Kepler? Is there, if he continues to struggle like he did last year, like he has so far in the 4 games this season, is there a point where we need to bench him?
I mean, yeah, but what are we doing? Like, I mean, like, what's our option, other than like Larnach, Buxton, Taylor, and then we bring someone else into DH, but I'd rather just stick with Kepler.
Kirilloff can play outfield too.
Yeah. Okay.
So that I mean that would be your only other guy though, right? Like,
yeah, and then you just keep Gallo at first.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about Gallo. Yes, you keep him at first, obviously, but like Kirilloff and Gallo, that could switch. Kirilloff has experience at first, so you could play one at first, the other in a corner outfield spot, and then the next game or the next series switch it.
You could also obviously DH Gallo and put Buxton in the outfield occasionally as well.
Right. So there are ways you could take Kepler out of the lineup. There is. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm rooting for him. I'm down for him to be in the lineup. But if it does reach that point a month or 2 from now, he hasn't found a groove yet, you might have to look elsewhere.
Also, this Willie Castro guy, like, is he? I don't know. I liked a little bit of what I saw from him last night, but is that a benching option for Keps?
Yeah, I don't know about that yet.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to see more game experience from him until I'm comfortable throwing him as a starter, a consistent starter at least. Another question from my dad. The division games now. We kind of talked about this last week on MLB preview. 19 per opponent down to 13 per opponent now. How do you think that affects the Twins?
I mean, Twins wise, it's negative, right? We want to play our crappy division more if possible. That makes it worse too, because these other AL teams, like all the AL East teams, are going to be playing us more and winning against the Royals and Tigers and those crap teams. So it's obviously bad for us, especially if the Guardians end up being good. Like, our wild card hopes are probably not as high as they would have been with the previous scheduling arrangement.
Yeah, both Centrals, NL and AL Central, this will hurt those 2 divisions the most because those are the 2 worst divisions in baseball. So, also, he just kind of was wondering about the new rules. So what we thought about the new rules. So not necessarily Twins question, but MLB in general. So far, I like them. I mean, the pitch clocks obviously worked really well. There's only been a handful of situations where the pitcher didn't get off in time or the batter wasn't.
0.8 per game right now.
That's the number.
Yep.
Yeah.
As of yesterday's games, 0.8 per game, and the time has gone down from 3:06 to 2:36. So
yeah, it was like 25 minutes or so.
Yeah. Or 2:41 maybe, but yeah, at least 25 minutes. time change, which has been amazing. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of the guy on second situation. I am against that, but the bigger bases, the amount of stealing has been awesome. That's always fun, like speeds the game up and such. I think all the rule changes have been great so far, other than the extra innings.
Yep, I'm in agreement there for sure. Connor Forbrook questions now to finish us off here. Does Buxton play 100 games? Over under 100?
I'm taking the over.
Really?
Yep.
I'm gonna take the over too, but I just don't know how confident I am in that.
Confident. I like the DHing strategy. It seems like we're finally being smart about it. So we might have a little load management case on our hands, and it might work.
Right. Yeah, I really hope so. Will we see Kenta Maeda? What Kenta are we going to see? Are we going to see 2020 Kenta when he was dominant? Are we going to see an injury plagued, inconsistent Kenta? What are their expectations there?
I just hope we can get number 3, number 4 starter Kenta, because like Joe Ryan's
at least
hopefully
that.
going to take a step. Sonny Gray, we kind of know what he is, and Pablo Lopez is supposed to be the guy. So if we can get starter 3 Kenta, then I'm okay with it. I think it'll be good. If we get starter 1 Kenta, then if we get 2020 Kenta, then man, we actually could, knock on wood, maybe win a playoff series or a playoff game at least.
Yeah, because if he's doing 2020 Kenta stuff, and then like you said, you still have Pablo, you still have Sonny Gray, you still have Joe Ryan, you still have Tyler Mahle. That's a pretty damn good starting 5, actually.
Not bad. Not bad.
No, not bad at all. And yeah, that obviously all hinges on Kenta's success. So hopefully he's able to stay healthy and get back to his 2020 form.
Actually a wagon? Damn.
Are the Twins a wagon? I don't know. I think it's a little too early to say that.
Right.
Let's go through these dry spells. This Joey Gallo 0 for 30 with 20 Ks and dry spells like that, or Buxton missing a month with an injury or anything along those lines. And then we'll see how we battle adversity. That's the true test of how good teams are. Biggest need going into the trade deadline. This maybe is a little too early to ask this, but I feel like we kind of know what we need. And to me, that's bullpen.
Yeah.
I think we still need some more bullpen pitchers.
I'd love to trade one of our lower end starters for a star starter as well, but that's kind of a dream. So yeah, I would say if it's not that, we definitely need bullpen depth for sure.
Like you mean like package one of our 5 starting pitchers with minor leaguers for a better pitcher? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would obviously like to see that too, but yeah, like you said, I don't know how feasible that is, just given the Twins' lack of wanting to make moves at the deadline.
Yeah,
they just don't.
But bullpen help we definitely need if we're gonna try to actually win a playoff game.
All right, kind of more of a fun one here. Thoughts on the new jerseys? Thoughts on the new hats?
I love the Twin Cities jerseys. I know that's a hot take, apparently, because Twitter hates them. Twitter hates them.
Man, I don't know. I thought those are cool.
I think they're lit. I think they're like absolute dopest jerseys. So I like those. The M hat is definitely a negative for me, but
yeah, same.
Yeah, we're the Minnesota Marlins in my head when I see that hat. But other than that, I liked them overall, and the Twin Cities uniforms are my fave.
Yeah, I love the pinstripe. I think that's sick. Last question here, Spinny. This is the best one.
Oh no.
Forbrook's last question, he texted me. Is it bullshit that they're still going to cut off alcohol sales at the 7th inning stretch?
Yes.
Always. Yes, I agree.
That's what DDs are for. That's what Ubers are for. Come on.
Exactly. Don't cut us off. Let us go to the finish of the game.
Give DDs free pop. And then let us go to the finish. Yeah. Boom, bang, boom.
Could do that. I mean, it's more money. Like, why even cut it off? There's definitely people that will go buy a beer or two before the game's done. Or what happens in the instance? Yeah, obviously this isn't as likely now with the extra inning rule. But what if a game happens to go to the 15th inning and I'm there for another whole game worth of time?
Like last year when I when we left in the 12th because I had to work in the morning, and I get home and I listen to the Miguel Sano walk off in my driveway. So that wasn't the most fun thing ever.
Hey, if you would have had some beers to buy, you
Yeah,
probably would have stayed.
if I would have had a couple more beers, I would have been living.
That was a hilarious question. I'm glad you asked that, Forbrook. Well, Spinny, I think that was the Chad Greenway episode, man. I don't have anything else to talk about. Do you?
That was it. That was
actually, I do have one announcement for next week.
Mm.
We're gonna have a cool NHL segment for all you hockey fans out there that have been begging us to do something NHL related. We got something really special planned next week, so be on the lookout for episode 53.
Yeah, a lot of guests, a lot of knowledge, a lot of fun, a lot of not talking from us. So
yeah, you won't hear our terrible hockey takes since we obviously know nothing about hockey.
Yeah, thank goodness. We love the peeps we're about to get on, so we look forward to giving it to you.
For sure. Well, Hards, we appreciate y'all for listening once again. Click that subscribe button if you still haven't somehow.
Click that shit. If you haven't, why haven't you?
Literally, why haven't you? Get on it. We love you, though. We'll catch y'all next week.